Hey, welcome to Crunchy Fingers. Today we are gonna talk about this, the Lomo LC-A. So today I thought it would be fun to talk to you about one of my favorite cameras ever, the Russian Lomo LC-A. This camera was produced by Lomo originally in the Russian Federation from 84 to 94, but later the Lomography Society has taken over the production in China with the LC-A Plus camera. But here we're gonna talk about the original LC-A, no Plus, that was produced in Russia, and this copy actually is from 89, I believe, it says in the serial number. I really love this camera because even though it's so tiny and so lightweight and so portable, it delivers amazing images without having to really put a lot of effort into taking the images. You know, I'm all about taking the sweet time and thinking about making the shots, and that's why I love some of the non-automatic cameras that I have and having to really just go in and sit down and think about the composing. But this camera is actually a different type of shooting. This can be used for fast shooting, street photography, and that kind of work. It has a fast lens, 32mm 2.8 maximum aperture lens, a Minitar 1, which is really sharp and really good working. And it's a sound focusing camera. This means that you can set here on the side the distance at which you wanted it to be focusing. Normally this camera is used in automatic mode, but it can also be changed the aperture that it's shooting at, with the limitation that when you change the aperture and you don't have it in automatic, the camera is going to shoot at 1/60th of a second. So for flash photography, that would be amazing. So you can actually decide how much depth of field the photo is going to have. But if you are not working with a flash and you are limited to 1/60th of a second, unless you're following like Sunny 16 rule and things like this, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to have a well-exposed image. So I would recommend to use this in automatic because it actually does a really good job. If we go through the camera and the different sides of the camera, what we can see here on the front side is that we have the Lomo writing in the left side, and then in the right side by the viewfinder, if we open it, we have the setting of the ASA of the film that you're working with. And this is actually quite a fun way of setting the ASA because basically it has a light sensitive cell inside, and when you change the ASA, what it does is to basically just have a bigger or a smaller circle, letting more or less light depending on the ASA that you are setting it in. And then of course we have the lens here in the front as the bigger element of the camera. If we turn the camera to its left side here, what we can see is what I said, the setting of the aperture. So you can have it in automatic, which is how I normally work with it all the time, or you can put it in aperture between 2.8, the widest aperture, to 16, which will be the smallest aperture. And then if we turn the camera to the other side, what we see here is the sound focusing setting system that we have from 0.8 centimeter, 1.5 centimeters, meters, 3 meters, and infinite. And normally my rule of thumb is if it's 0.8 centimeter is approximately where my arm would end. So if my arm ends here, then things that are around here are going to be exposed from my face, from the distance from my face. 1.5 meters is basically my height. So what I imagine is if I would just like drop that here in front, where would that end? So that's going to be in focus. 3 meters would be double that, and then infinite, well, everything that is after that. So that's kind of has worked well for me. So maybe you can have that as a rule of thumb, although if you are not 1.5 meters tall, it might be a little more difficult like that, but approximately it's fun to work with that as well. If we turn the camera to the other side, what we see is the viewfinder, which when you look through it, what you see is actually a little needle in the bottom that tells you which focusing do you have set up, either a little person, which means 80 centimeters, 2 people, which would be the 1.5, then full people, from toe to head, 3 meters, and then a building, which will be infinite. And the fun thing that you also have here is when you press the shutter halfway, you have 2 different lights that come out if the light meter is working. And when you get two lights come out, it means that it's a bit too dark for it to actually shoot without getting camera shake, or getting the photo without camera shake. So it's an indication of how light or not light it's going to be. So you want to aim to get just that one light in the viewfinder. Then it means that enough light is going to get into your film and you're going to have an exposed shot. And then of course we have the knob to wind the film as you are shooting. And then if we open it, what we see here, it is a normal case to put your film, 135 film, from here all the way to here. You will turn it a couple of times, close it, and you are ready to go. If we look at it from the top, what we see is the rewind knob for the film. There is a hot shoe to put your flash, and as we said, it's gonna sync at 1/60th of a second. We have the shutter release, and we have the film counter to know how many shots you have already shot. So when you get to 36 or 24, you are done. And if we turn it in its back, what we actually see here is the tripod normal 1/4 inch of a thread. We have the battery compartment and this camera to work in automatic mode and have the light meter working. What we want is 3 LR44 batteries here. We have the knob for the rewind of the film, and here we will have the connection to the winder of the film, and the knob that you turn to close and open and protect the lens here. So yeah, on the side you can also put this little wrist strap, which is super handy when you are walking around. I love to just, like when I go traveling, for example, I just put it like this and I go around my day. I have it ready to shoot anytime I want. If you normally have it in infinite, you know that you can be shooting anything, look, done. Or if you have it at 3 or 1.5, it's really nice distance for street photography. Maybe you can shoot from the hip as well. It works really well. I'm gonna show you now some sample images, some images that I really like, that I took with this little beast. For a while I was really into shooting it with a slide film to cross-process it, because it was kind of hype back in the day, but also because it does give an amazing vignette, super natural vignette that it works really well when you are working with these kind of saturated images that the cross-processing will give you when you're working with slide film. Cross-process, for anybody that maybe had not heard before, is when you are actually shooting a slide film that is supposed to be a positive film, and it has to be developed with specific chemicals, the E6 chemicals. You can take that film but actually develop it with color negative chemicals, the C41 process, and then that's what is called the cross-processing of a slide film. And when you do that, you get amazing saturated shots like these ones that you can see. I can show you now an example of some trees taken with Velvia, taken with Sensia, and taken with CT Precisa Afga film. This camera also works really well with black and white film. So here you have an example of in an amusement park with a black and white Lomo Lady Grey 400, I believe it was. But also you can use negative color, it does also really well. So here we have a couple of examples with Ektar, one in Joshua Tree with the cholas, super nice. And there's another one of another tree that was in Death Valley, I believe. As you can see, I really like photographing trees. That's kind of like a thing of mine that has been happening through the years. So yeah, this was the little review of one of my favorite cameras. If you are curious to know what other cameras I have in that shelf over there, there's a recent video we shot about a walkthrough of it. So you can now, I will link the video, you can check it out and expect that some more videos of those cameras are gonna come out with some sample images. And I'm really looking forward to do that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this little review of the Lomo LC-A Russian version. And if you like the video, please thumbs up and subscribe. Even like press the bell button if you want to get notified when we are releasing new videos. And hope to see you back here soon.